Hi, I'm Dan Goldenberg, the Executive Director of the Call of Duty Endowment. It is a foundation started by Activision Blizzard focused on exclusively helping veterans find high quality jobs. And I'm really honored to be here today with my friend and colleague, Johanna Faries, who most recently was promoted to be the general manager of the whole Call of Duty franchise. And she's got this small side job of running two sports leagues as well, the Call of Duty League and the Overwatch League as well. So, and she just got back from vacation yesterday, a very well-deserved vacation. So I'm so happy to be here with her to talk about today our topic, which is focused on how we can use video games to do good in the world. But I thought, Johanna, maybe you could kick things off by talking about your road to getting here.
Absolutely. Hi, Dan. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much. I'm so honored to be here. I always love talking with you about really anything under the sun, but especially to chat today, not only about what you do and the Call of Duty Endowment specifically, but also, just broadly how video games continue to uniquely reach new audiences and drive social impact for good. My road has included efforts around, social impact work, both when I was in traditional sports at the NFL and now even here with Call of Duty and Activision Blizzard King more broadly. But it's just been such a fun ride and nobody better to collaborate than with you. So really excited to shine a light on you specifically and code. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to switch it back. Why don't you share with all of us here, how the Call of Duty Endowment started and how it works today?
Sure. So the founding story goes back to, 2007. Bobby Kotick, our CEO and the founder of the Call of Duty Endowment, was having a conversation with the then Secretary of the Veterans Administration, a gentleman by the name of Jim Nicholson. And he approached Jim saying, hey, there's this facility on the West LA VA campus that we'd like to create to help veterans in their transition through art, be this free facility where they'd get to develop their artistic talents. And Jim, in a very salty way, which I won't explicitly quote here, said, Bobby, vets don't need freaking free art, they need jobs. Have you looked at the employment rates of vets coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq? And a lot of people would have been turned off by that, but Bobby, being the quintessential entrepreneur he is, said, I wonder if we can do something about that. And that was the genesis of the Call of Duty Endowment. And one of the big learnings was, at the time, the government programs that were out there, the nonprofit programs, the corporate programs, they really weren't working. And the thought was, hey, if we could take the approach that made us successful in the video game business to the social problem, maybe we can make a difference. And so the notion was to apply this approach called narrow and deep, which is pretty much what it sounds like, which is try and do just one thing and do it really well. Go deep, understand it, and then really focus your resources to be great at it. So that was the approach that was taken. In 2009, late 2009, in fact, Veterans Day 2009, the endowment was launched and started to raise money and give money to organizations that were helping vets gain quality jobs. And along the way, they started to realize the big names out there weren't necessarily the organizations doing the best work. And so in 2013, I was brought in to create a process to find the best nonprofits that were doing really impactful work in the veteran community. So we partnered with Deloitte, and we launched this program called the Seal of Distinction to find, amongst the more than 60,000 veteran nonprofits in the US, the highest performing ones. And we did that, and that was kind of the hockey stick moment for us, where we were able to align and fund these really terrific organizations that outperform everyone else. In fact, today, the organizations we fund, 10 in the US, 2 in the UK, place veterans for 1/9 the cost of the federal government into good jobs with much better outcomes in terms of salaries and percent of jobs that are full-time and retention rates that are close to 90%. So that's how it all started. And the roads also has been great. We have funded the placement of 85,000 veterans so far into great jobs, creating billions of dollars of economic impact for them and their families. We're pressing ahead for a goal to place 100,000 veterans in jobs by 2024. And then most recently, we just completed for Military Appreciation Month, our Code Military Heroes, our Code Medic Heroes program to focus on one segment of the veteran population, that's medics, military medics. We had during the pandemic a really shocking insight, which is that half of them who want to work in the healthcare industry can't get jobs in healthcare, which is kind of shocking when you think about the training, the experience, the investment. Every one of them has received at least $100,000 of medical training, and many of them are faced with a decision when they get out to start over and retrain on stuff they already know. So we wanted to really draw attention to their incredible backgrounds and value during the month. So we did that, and had a whole bunch of other things. So we had a connecting screen in Warzone. I know that's what everyone probably wants to hear about, is the Call of Duty stuff. So, which something like 19 million people saw. We had a revival challenge, revive 5 friends in Warzone, and the endowment received $1 from Activision Blizzard for a total of $1 million, or up to $1 million. And we were hoping for 1 million completed challenges. We had 8 million. So the community really rallied around us, blew us away in terms of what we could accomplish there. And then finally, we launched something called the Battle Doc Pack, a new MTX pack, where all the proceeds received by Activision Blizzard are donated to the endowment. So all that went down. We also, on the last full day of the month, we launched the Veterans Guide to Activision Blizzard as a company to help more veterans work at the company and in the industry. So busy month.
Incredible. Totally incredible. And I think it just reflects not only so much of the work and how far you and your team have brought this initiative, but as we often talk about, just this community, this generation, frankly, of players want to engage with brands and initiatives that have this type of social impact, especially when it's insight driven. Like, I love your point about finding a new insight and really galvanizing the entire franchise and the entire company around how do we do a creative, effort around something that maybe not everybody knew, maybe not even you and your team knew. And it was enlightening for everybody, but then to really galvanize the entire COD franchise around it, I just think is so powerful. And those numbers are staggering. So hats off to you guys. It reminds me as well, like, I spent a lot of time at the NFL working on some of this stuff. As you know, the My Cause, My Cleats initiative was also born out of similar insights, right? It wasn't just, let's go pick something out of thin air, but rather so many NFL players have such a passion outside of what they're doing on the football field to make a difference in their communities. But they were all different. Some are rallying for mental health, some are rallying for code, very specifically. I know you and I have gotten to work together on that and working with amazing NFL athletes around the Call of Duty Endowment. And there were just thousands of causes that were so near and dear to so many NFL players' hearts. And so in order to really elevate that, it was around, again, finding insight, mine the opportunity, and really, bring fans closer into not only learning about the work that NFL players are doing, but in a creative way, so that when the lights go on game day, you're seeing that come through on their cleats in these really creative, bold ways that kind of break through into culture and into sneaker, head kind of conversations. And so it was just this really cool nexus. And it reminds me so much of the work that you guys do, which is there are fun, impactful ways to really, raise the funds that go to the insights that are really born out of the great work that you're doing. And it's so, it's on mission. So it's really cool to see that.
Yeah. And, so many of the athletes you're describing are gamers. So, it's really like this great convergence of entertainment, sport, and cause. We've been really privileged to work with 4 NFL athletes, each one of them gamers, each one of them incredibly supportive of veterans causes, and specifically the Call of Duty Endowment. So, we can have a lot of fun. Honestly, those are some of the most engaging social media posts we've done when we've been able to highlight this work. And we just love it. It's something we look forward to every year. And it has such an impact on growing the awareness of the Veteran Employment Challenge too. It's just this nexus again of entertainment and good is amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that appealed to me even in making the jump from traditional sports into esports, and having our CDL organizations be so involved with code. And it's just amazing, because when you have that much already comprehensively done, and you can really track the impact, again, the way that code has done so meticulously, it just makes it a better place to work. I'm curious too. I know this is a DICE talk, right? Like your work with the devs and how the franchise sort of behind the scenes is working to make these things happen in the game. Like, what's your thought on that? How's that process been?
Oh, it's so great. I'll just give a very recent example. So I talked about the Battle Doc pack. So Doc is what you call a medic or Navy corpsman, say Navy's and Marine Corps' version of a medic. That's sort of the term of affection for them by their units is Doc. They call them Doc. And we were able to partner with a Doc, a 20-year Army veteran who's an avid Call of Duty player, and sit him down with the devs at Treyarch to co-develop the Battle Doc pack. And, I can't tell you how many of those devs have come back and said, this is incredible. This is one of the best things I've ever done. I don't know who was more in love, the devs with Tim, the corpsman, the medic we were working with, or Tim, because he's such an avid COD player. He's like, I can't believe I'm getting to make meet and work with the people who make the game I love, and that got me through many deployments. And then, similar experience with Modern Warfare and Infinity Ward. We worked with Flo Groberg, who's a Medal of Honor recipient and again an avid Call of Duty player. This was a year ago for the Fearless pack, and it was awesome. And he sat down telling the devs how much they loved the game. They told him how honored they were to work with him, and he brought in personal photographs that had never been seen before at the public to help them be inspired to create the Fearless pack. And Tim did the same thing with the Battle Doc pack, and I think it just gave them much more of a window into the reality of what military and combat service was like. I think it's fair to say that our games, Call of Duty, is inspired. It's a game, it's entertainment at the end of the day, but it's inspired by those who served in uniform. And so for them to meet people who've done so in such a distinguished way, I think it adds value to their work, excitement. It was really interesting when I remember when we were looking at one of the weapons that we were putting in the pack with Flo, and Flo was like, no, the rig's not right. I mean, they're really getting
amazing. Yeah.
And no one ever got bored. Like the devs were like, that's amazing. I didn't know that. What about this rig? And I completely lost control of the conversation, so which was great. There's that real integration, and and obviously it's those who are making the items, making the game, and also those who are bringing the game to market. Be it the marketers, the PR people, the lawyers, everyone. And this is one of my favorite things about our company is that everybody pitches in. It's always yes, and what else can I do? I think people find it really motivating and nice to know that the game can have such an impact on people. And I think we're starting to see, and I'd love your thoughts on this, but gaming, take Warzone, for instance, as sort of a canvas to do things more than just play, to actually totally talk about things and raise awareness. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, right? It becomes this sort of gathering space that is pretty incomparable when you just think about the global scale of it, and the types of different backgrounds and experiences that the COD player base alone is bringing to any given moment in time in Verdansk, just as one example to your point of Warzone.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's oftentimes thinking about that. It's how is this a platform for entertainment? How is this a platform for community building? How is this a platform for impact? But, code, I think, represents that moment in time that you're also talking about awareness. Like I can drop in and have a gameplay experience, but can I also drop in and learn something or feel motivated beyond just Call of Duty to be more deeply connected to something else going on in the world? And I think the Medics initiative is such a great one, right? Everyone is thinking about how the pandemic has impacted communities worldwide, to be able to drop in, so to speak, learn more about, wow, I didn't realize how this has impacted some part of the veteran community, for example. And now it's a really relevant, hyper current topic that might have hit the news waves but now can come into the gameplay community in a really seamless way that may actually be more on their terms, in a way that, of course, incites, again, not just impact, but I think education. So I love that the platform is more about a reflection of culture as much as it's also a lever by which we impact and shape culture.
Yeah, I think honestly, if you look at the social impact for generations that linear media, that TV, movies, music have had, it's amazing. And it feels like we're just starting to put our toe in the water as an industry in gaming, especially by actually integrating it into the experience of gaming itself, not just as while the items we put in games to raise funds for charities are amazing and incredibly effective. The messaging about cause is a whole new field, not new for other forms of entertainment. Sport, obviously, it's been there forever, but really kind of new for video games.
Agreed. And just like to think about how the conversation around doing community service work now can happen in game, right? It's just such an interesting and powerful concept, and Code has put that on display. I would agree. And I also think that the Call of Duty community is just one that, leans so heavily into anything we put out there, right? They're so hyper engaged. And so it's just awesome to see how much that's extended into the endowment piece of it. To your point, you were expecting 1 million, you get 8 million, right? Like these are staggering numbers by any stretch of the imagination. And it just, again, I think reflects on why this community is so compelling and powerful to me. They skew global, they skew young, they skew intentional about the brands they spend their time with and their money with and their sweat equity with, right? It's not just about what is COD doing for me, but how am I sort of giving back into Call of Duty. So it's just powerful. I think you're right that we're on a sort of a transformational inflection point around where gaming sits vis-a-vis other parts of culture.
Yeah, and if you think about who's playing our game, certainly Call of Duty, and watching it, and playing, whether it's free to play, premium, mobile, are those engaging with CDL. Generally speaking, it skews kind of younger, and the people we're trying to help, for instance, the veterans we're trying to help, tend to skew about the same age. So in many ways, we're helping. And for anyone who spent time with the military, gaming is a hugely popular pastime. For the saying, like, hours of boredom punctuated by moments of terror. That's kind of life in the military. A lot of those hours of boredom are sort of melt away from engaging in our form of entertainment. And so, in many ways, we're helping some of our biggest fans, which is really, really cool, I think. We know over years we've asked questions to the COD community about the cause, and they're like well north of 90% are super supportive of this particular veteran cause of veteran employment, which is great. So we're both engaging our gamers where they are, but also engaging some of our own gamers and helping them, which is super cool. And honestly, our in-game items that we do for the endowment are some of our best awareness generators for vets who come to us asking for help too. And I think the reach is incredible, right? You alluded to that earlier. Like we're even blown away by the numbers of people who engage. So I think we're just starting to scratch the surface on what we can do to mobilize people around certain causes, which is really cool. At least in the ability to educate them about things that are going on socially. And I think over time we'll continue to find more ways to do that as long as we keep it fun. That's a big thing too. It's got to be engaging. It's got to be fun. Can't be dry. It's interesting how many nonprofits will come to gaming companies and say, "Hey, can you make a game on X on our cause?" And it's actually misunderstands how to use gaming for good. I think you don't build a game, to showcase a social ill. You use a fun game to expose people to what we can do to address it, I think.
100%. It's interesting too, because I was thinking about going back to, we are still an entertainment brand first and foremost, right? And so really using that as a guiding principle, even as we think about how do we make a bigger social impact in the world, never losing sight of that and the fun of it all. That's the secret sauce. That's why you get, these outsized engagement metrics that you see, because it's more than just sort of a message. It's really a gamification of social impact, which I think is brilliant. And I also, I think about that even on the, let's say, the esports side as an example, and again, where my old world meets my new world, and I love it. Code very specifically has opened the door to new partnerships that otherwise would not exist. So it's also a platform for B2B relationships or B2B, B2C dynamics that otherwise would not be there for the taking. USAA being a great example of that. They were such a tremendous partner for the NFL Salute to Service initiative, which is squarely, related to a lot of the work that Code does in terms of honoring those who serve, both in and beyond the game. And so when they have stepped in and made their very first esports investment by way of Call of Duty League, by way of Code, and on the content that they're delivering and all the impact that they're doing as a sponsor, but also just sort of a platform partner, that's just, again, bringing all of it together in this entertainment driven way, but also can bring, new commercial partnerships, frankly, to life.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing example, Johanna. If you think about the USA is so legit. It's such a legit brand for the military community. They provide financial services to the military community. No one else, no other company in the world even comes close. Everyone in the military knows who they are. And I think when they saw that our commitment to the veteran community was so real, it's not why we do it. It's just we've been doing it for more than a decade, and it was so massive that they thought, okay, this is a company who's aligned with our values. Like, we're serious about it. We're not dabbling. We really do care. We're inspired by the community, and we help the community. And I think that did open up doors. And, it's more, there's a lot of different terms for it, but like, conscious-based capitalism. It's the notion that you can do well and you can do good at the same time. Mm-hmm. And they've been incredible partners and continue to be so. CDL, Call of Duty League, ran a terrific activation in concert with Military Appreciation Week with USA. It was a huge success. Created a whole page for it. A lot of nice rhyming with the NFL's efforts that you mentioned. And I think that's been, a North Star for us in trying to do that same kind of, live that same kind of commitment. And just like you said, it brought in a brand like USA. It's brought in other brand partners too, like RAM, for instance, that have been amazing. And, the partnerships between the military services even, and CDL and the Call of Duty Endowment. One of the things we're really proud of was the Code Bowl, the Call of Duty Endowment Bowl, which was, the largest military esports event in the world, as far as we know. We had last year 8 teams. Watch this space for this year's developments, but we had 8 military teams, 3 UK, 5 US, including the brand new Space Force, competing with CDL pros, coaching them, and with influencers joining in. So it's like the whole ecosystem coming together, right? Playing competitively, and Space Force shocked everyone and won their first year in existence. It was amazing.
Yep.
And some of the Space Force, Air Force, the Marine Corps, they created esports teams. They didn't even have them before for this event, and now they're continuing to do so. So it just shows the power of bringing new partners in to the ecosystem and to the gaming world. And I don't see any of that slowing down.
Yeah, I love that. And to that point, I mean, what are some of the lessons you've learned in the work that you're doing, and maybe lessons that the industry can benefit from?
Yeah, so I mean, we talked early on about, for instance, in-game items that raise money for charity. So a lot of people don't know this, but Blizzard was actually the first company to ever try this. And the story goes, it's a bit apocryphal, but a bunch of devs, started with a bunch of devs, said they wanted to help an employee whose kid was sick, and they created a game in a charity pet in World of Warcraft to raise, I think the goal was something like $20,000 for children. I think it was Children's Hospital of Orange County, and they ended up they shocked themselves. They ended up raising, I think, close to $1 million, and they said, maybe we have something here. And so a tradition was born at Blizzard and then across the gaming community to raise funds for charity. do well by doing good. And, our gamers are amazing. They've responded, and, these things continue to do really, really well. They bring in cause-minded consumers. We know the youngest generation, Gen Z, are very cause-minded in what they do. Certainly the millennial generation is. And so it makes them feel more loyalty, more affinity to the brand, because it gives them an easy way to do good in the environment where they're doing well. So I think continuing to know this trend isn't going away. Our gamers want more of this, not less. And we can do, just incredible good with that. So, I'll tell you, roughly speaking, for the Call of Duty Endowment, in-game items between Call of Duty, mobile, mainline, Warzone, and some of the other franchises in the business, like Tony Hawk and Crash Bandicoot, have brought in more than $18 million for the endowment, every cent of which has gone to place vets and jobs, because Activision donates 100% of these proceeds. And I think there's a second lesson there, which is, you got to be super transparent with your gamers about, hey, this is what we're going to do with the money. This is the percent that goes to it. And this is what happened. And I think a lot of companies, not just gaming in our business, but companies across the economy, don't do that last bit. They don't report back and say what happened. And gamers can be pretty skeptical, but I think in the charitable world, it's appropriate, actually, to ask, okay, we made all this, we raised all these funds, what happened? And so for us, we know, for instance, last year, the average cost to place a veteran into a job was $515. So literally divide what we raised by 515, and that's exactly how many veterans got placed because of our gaming community. And we communicate that back. So I think that's super, super important. We also learned things from the in-game packs. We learned that there was an assumption that you can only ask gamers in regions where their regions are being helped or they won't donate. Totally not true. People are incredibly generous around the world. More than a third of the in-game items that benefit the endowment come from outside the US, which is really, really cool. So I think really examine your assumptions about where you can do these things. There's generous people everywhere. I think, again, we're really lucky that the company donates all their proceeds. So we're able to maximize the impact for dollar, which is really, really cool. And I think when you want to bring the cause into the content. So, going back to the example of the Revival Challenge, it was reviving other players, just like a medic would revive someone on the battlefield. Well, not just like it, but, as much as we can be in Warzone. It reminded them of why we're doing this, who are we honoring. When we made the Battle Dog pack and the Fearless pack, when they were inspired by actual people who served and they actually co-created these items, that's, it's legit, it's real, it's organic. And that's super important, because if it isn't, our community gamers will see right through it. So I think those are probably the big lessons for us.
It's fantastic. I mean, there's so much in each of those lessons that, we could drill further into, but I think your point about, again, marrying it to the organic experience of the gameplay, right? And making sure that those really sing, I think is really brilliant and spot on. And then your point on, there are generous people everywhere. I mean, I so feel that. And especially when you cut the insights demographically, to your point about where millennials are, how they make their decisions, what brands they affiliate with, what they expect from brands in terms of transparency, well beyond just the transactional content of the day, right? And all the more so for Gen Z, because they're going to be the offspring, frankly, or the younger siblings of the millennial generation. I only see that continuing to be, the norm, like almost the starting point for entertainment brands to say, okay, great, we're entertaining. What else? What do we represent? What do we stand for in the world? Who do we stand for?
Yeah, I absolutely think that's the future. It starts with the communities we serve. What do they care about? What are they willing to do? What are they not willing to do? And I think it gives us a lot more opportunity to integrate cause and content. I think also that extends into other areas like diversity and inclusion, making sure our characters look a lot more like the people who are playing our game. And I think I'm really proud of the work we're doing across Activision Blizzard in that regard. More to come, but I think we've made some great strides there. But it always starts with thinking about who are the players, and they're just. I said this years ago. When we first started this work, we put a public service announcement together. One we're really proud of. It's still up on our YouTube page. I think it's back in 2013 or 2014. It was great. It was emotive. It was us talking to young veterans and asking them to tell us what their experience has been, and to try and bridge that civilian military gap. I still love it. It's called The Honest Truth. If you want to check it out, I don't know if we can put it in the notes or something, but we put that up there, and we put a donate button. It was actually a CWL event back in 2014. It was the CWL champs, and the response wasn't great. It wasn't what we would hope for in terms of donations. And what we realized later on is donors will be, or gamers will be very generous, but they do expect something in return if you're going to ask them to be. And that thing can be entertainment value. It could be like, tell me what the impact I'm going to have is, but you've got to have more of a dialogue with them. You can't just show them, a sad thing and expect them to open up their wallets. You've got to give them something back. And again, it doesn't have to be a tangible thing. It can be intangible. It could be a hilarious stream, but you've got to really give to receive, I think. So, I think that's part of the future as well. And, continuing to listen to the voice of our consumers when things don't hit it quite right, or when they want us to bring something back. So we're doing listening. I've been warned by many people, like, don't read the social media comments too much. But I do probably read them too much, but I also learn a lot from them. I don't always respond, but I do learn. So I think we have to constantly, continue to monitor the pulse of our gamers and understand where things are changing with them.
Hey, I mean, you're hitting on hyper listening, right? Which is just something that I think more and more companies are going to benefit from at every rank and file. And same was the case for My Cause, My Cleats. I mean, that probably took well over 2 years to get to the point where it was actually on the field. But so much of it was around, wait, that insight is going to take us down the wrong road, or hold on, we haven't talked enough to the players who actually, really have to bring this to life, and it has to feel authentic to them and their experiences. And so just being in listening mode, in as much as you also want to do. I also think you strike on a bigger point, just as like an emerging business leader in me. It speaks to me powerfully, which is there are times where it may not hit the way that you want it to. You may have KPIs, you may assign yourself certain goals at any moment in time. It doesn't mean that you fold. It doesn't mean that you stop doing what you're doing. It just means, okay, there's something to learn here. And especially if it's values-based, it just means there may be a different way we can skin this, right? And so I don't want that to get lost in the lessons learned, is that it doesn't always mean that it's great because, you hit 8 million expecting 1. Sometimes it's just great because it's on mission. It's, comprehensively done. It's pointing to the right North Stars. And sometimes you're going to have incredible results, and sometimes maybe not so much, but it's all part of the unfolding of making bigger scaled impact. And look at where you are today, because you've gone through that trial and error, right?
Absolutely. And I think, if in the pursuit of trying to do good, I think our communities, gamers, are just going to be a lot more forgiving than they would say if a game doesn't work, or something like that. Totally. So, I think we have permission to experiment more. And, I'm excited about doing it. A lot of stuff we're doing today, if you told me 5 years ago we'd be doing it, I wouldn't have believed it. So who knows how much farther we can take this.
Yeah. Speaking of that, as we wrap up, I would say, what are your thoughts on the future?
Yeah, I think some of these trend lines will continue. I think, our newest gamers are they're not going to get less vocal. They're going to demand more social responsibility from companies. I'm proud of things our employees do to make our cause go. I mean, like I said, there's not a function in the company where people don't volunteer their time. They're not doing their day job less. They're volunteering more of their time to help. I think that will continue. Our employees love, I think the best employee engagement thing we do at the company is our Veterans Day of Service globally. We have more than 1,000 employees come out and serve veterans across the across the world, in various ways. And I think that's a trend for the future too, which is consistency of cause. Pick a purpose and be consistent, and bring everything you have to it. So, for us, it's in-game, it's, policy. That's another area where you'll see, I think, our industry start to weigh in on social good, from a policy standpoint, where we can bring the gaming community to help drive certain changes, from government, for instance. I think that's out there in the future as well. The importance of hyper listening to see where trends are going. Sometimes things are truly trends, and sometimes they're sort of head fakes. If you think of back to the ice bucket challenge, remember that a few years ago?
Yep.
Like everyone thought that's it. Charity's changing completely, and there really hasn't ever been a second thing like the ice
true.
bucket.
Yeah.
Not for lack of trying, by the way. So we'll keep experimenting. I think it's really exciting to watch the space with mobile. There's so much happening in mobile, and so much of the world is on mobile. And as there's more affluence in places where there didn't used to be, sub-Saharan Africa, South, LATAM, and we're going to see more creativity coming out of those areas, as well. So watch that space. And a lot of times, some of the lessons I learned early on in this job actually came from the mobile space. So Zynga back in 2013, 2014, when I first got in the job, was doing some incredible stuff. I properly tip my hat to them, that inspired us to do a lot of the in-game activations we do. So I continue to look at the mobile space for innovation here. But I think those are the big things. Look, companies at a high level are under enormous pressure. We see every day to weigh in on cause, in a bigger way than they have ever in the history of capitalism. So I think like that's unavoidable, and it's a good thing. I think our industry will be forced to respond more in the time ahead. So those are the big trends I see.
Love it. I agree. And I also think it tracks back to what we said before about sort of gaming, I think, is undergoing this very transformational moment. And so what I'm excited about, over and above everything you also just said so well, is, thinking almost gaming first, not gaming ancillary, right?
Yeah.
To make impact, or to bring millions of people together, or to have a fundraising concert, or a fundraising fashion show. Like all of those things, albeit somewhat tactical, are kind of where I think gaming as culture are going to start to move the conversation around how do we make impact? How do we put in service work, right? Both physically and call it virtually or digitally, as a digital community. And so I'm really excited to see how the interface of gaming actually reshapes how we think about service.
All right. Well, we'll make it happen as much as we can. I'm excited about the future. Well, this has been great, Johanna. Thank you so much. I don't know how you do everything you do, but and then taking time out to talk cause, but it's obviously very, very near to your heart, as it is mine. So we're really grateful for you, and for your whole massive team who gets behind this stuff every day. And thank you also to the DICE community for taking time to listen and care, and help us drive even more good across the world through gaming. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Such a pleasure. Thank you for your service, obviously, and for everything you do here at Activision Blizzard King. And thank you to the DICE community for listening in. It's been a pleasure.